I own 6 cars, and at least 2 of them will be gone in the next couple of weeks. If you guys are new here, you guys probably don't know all of the vehicles that I have. We haven't talked about some of them in a while. If you guys don't really catch up with the videos, you might be a little confused as to what's in the garage and what's out of the garage. So we can do a little bit of a garage update and talk about the cars that I am selling and the vehicles that are for sale. Because I almost accidentally sold one of my cars the other day. Let's talk about it. Stepping outside, this is my 2022 Bronco, and right there is my 2007 Lexus IS250. You guys haven't seen either of these vehicles in a few weeks. In the last video with this car, I'm not even sure what we did. It's been probably months and months and months on end. This car does need a little bit of a refresh to the interior. You probably talked about the little bit of the mechanical refresh it received about a year ago or so now, and it needs a couple of like little tiny bits and pieces that we'll take care of in some of the videos to follow. The last video of the Bronco, I honestly don't remember either. It's either a recall issue we were having with the car or some of the issues that I was having with the Bronco. Now obviously I talked about building the truck and whatnot, and I really haven't done anything with it other than just kind of drive it. The car has PPF on the front and the tints obviously. But other than doing the PPF and tinting, we really haven't done anything with the Bronco in terms of modifications or even using the vehicle. Hopefully in the next couple of days here we might take the doors and the roof off here just because summer is here, but it's windy, rainy, and kind of miserable every other day, so it hasn't really been a good opportunity to use it. That, and I haven't off-roaded it yet. I do intend to take it off-roading at least once or twice this year, and hopefully within the next month here. But there's some problems with the Bronco, and we're not going to jump super in detail with it just yet because I can't talk about it. But just know that this is the first vehicle that most likely will leave before the summer ends. And we'll go more in detail as to what happened with the Bronco when that time arises. Jumping into the garage here, we have my 1982 FBRX7 and we have my 2002 C5 Z06. Both of these cars are new to the garage, but before we talk about these cars, let's talk about the 2 cars that have come and gone from the channel. So if you guys haven't watched the channel in a while, my biggest car on the channel was my 2019 Mustang GT. I sold that car a few months before I bought my Z06 here. The Z06 is not a replacement for my Mustang, but kind of something just in the middle to scratch the itch. I sold my Mustang for a number of reasons. If you guys haven't seen the video, go check it out. I do miss the car, but if you guys are wondering where it's been and you didn't catch the video that I said I sold it in, the car is gone, and it actually has been bought locally, but I'm yet to see the car. I do miss the Mustang. It was a super nice daily driver. I miss that noise from that Coyote, but something soon, relatively soon, within the next year or so, I do intend to replace that car. It's just going to take some time. It was just the right time to sell the car. And the other car that you guys might not have even known that I owned and bought and sold was a second Miata. I have my current Miata, I still own that car, but I actually bought a second one back in November, October, and I sold that car right after I bought the RX-7. I needed the garage room, plus the plan was always to kind of sell it, unless I was going to do an exo build with it, but, you know, the timeline just didn't line up, and the reason I'm selling a few other cars right now is the same reason I sold that one, and it's because I'm running out of garage space and time to work on these vehicles. So let's jump into these 2 cars right here. My RX-7 I took to a car show, and I mean a lot of people were looking at it. There's not a lot of RX-7s, especially first generation RX-7s that are in this area. And I had someone walk up to me and ask me if the car was for sale. I told them my price. He may or may not be considering it, but that got me thinking that if he's considering the price that I told him, other people might consider the price that I would sell it for. The ideas jumped around in my head about selling the FB. I'm not quite ready to sell this car, but in a few months, I maybe could be, just because of garage space and time. But I really enjoy working on the car because it has quite a bit of things that are simple fixes, and also some things that aren't simple fixes that I will learn quite a bit on. So I'm not 100% sure about the FB. I will say that I will miss it, but I won't say that it is safe with its spot in the garage. It depends how the other 2 cars go. Now before we jump into the Z06, let's go talk about the other 2 cars, because I think you know why we're saving this car for last. This is my Miata, and this car has found itself a parking outside. and it kind of hurts, which is another reason as to why I need some more room and why we're selling a couple of things. Cars and motorcycles, in fact. This car should be sitting inside. I need to do a little bit of reorganization and it'll have its spot inside. This car is not for sale. Quick update on the Miata. In the last video we shot with it, I believe we fixed the car, fixed the slave cylinder in the car. It needs a couple of interior bits and pieces that is needed for quite some time. I need to order a few things, but also at the same time, this car still needs a clutch, and I can't autocross and track the car until I get a clutch, and clutch kits are still out of stock. It's been like 6 months, so it's been impossible for me to get the parts that I want because I want to upgrade to stage 1. We've talked about this before, but the car also needs an alignment. After I get the clutch kit on order, I will go get the alignment, I'll put the other wheels back on, and I'll put the interior back together a little bit. But to go to the track, I really don't need the interior back together, and I only need the clutch and the alignment, and I can't get the clutch. And I'm just too lazy to do the alignment right now. This car is not for sale, but the other day I saw a British Racing green car, and it got me thinking that if I sold this car, took all the parts that I put on it off of it, and I sold this car and I swapped it for a British Racing green car and put all the parts on that car, I think I'd do it, but now is not the right time. I really like building this car, want to track it before we get to any of that, if I ever do consider getting a BRG car. And inside of the garage we have a couple of motorcycles, but we also have my 2000 BMW M Roadster that's been stuck in here for a while. Now at one point a little while ago I actually did consider this car for sale. I still would consider it if I got the right offer, but I'm not going to be listing it for sale as of right now. The reason why I consider it for sale is because I don't drive it enough. The reason I don't drive it enough is because it's parked in an awkward location, and that's just because of how this garage was built. But the BMW's always sat here, and if you don't realize, it's parked slanted almost between these two garage doors. And that's because in front of this garage door is two things. Number one, there's a hill, but number two, there is a well pump that sticks about 2 feet out of the ground, and because of that pump, it's very hard to angle a car into this garage space. And right now, in order to fit the RX-7, the Corvette, the Miata, and the BMW in the garage, one car has to sit here. I don't want to sell the car, I just wish I had a little bit more room, and selling a couple of other cars would make room for this car to be used a little bit more. It kind of got abandoned in this parking spot, and I only drive it a few times a year. And that's been the story with the car, I guess, for about a year or 2 years now. I mean, the car does get a few hundred miles a year. It's not like it's got 0 miles a year, but I wish it was a little bit more than what it is. And the Miata definitely needs to go back inside. Neither of those cars are tentatively for sale, which leaves one car. And the final car, and the second car that is currently actually going to be for sale, is my 2002 C5 Z06. Now there's a few reasons as to why I'm selling this car. Like I mentioned, I wish there was just a little bit more space in the garage, but there's a couple of other things that actually make me want to switch this car out for another car, or just sell it and work on the other stuff. So I actually do want to jump into a little bit more detail and give you guys a little bit more about why I'm selling the Corvette and why I would consider selling the RX-7 other than just space, and what other cars I would consider instead of the Corvette, because I would like to replace it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to replace it right away. With that being said, let's jump into the Lexus and talk about the issues that I have with the Lexus, because I'm sure a couple of people are wondering about that, and also wondering, you know, why the Corvette other than space am I selling it. And if you guys are interested, I will leave an email down below that you can email and let me know if you want to buy my car. It's been a while since we've gone for a little drive in the Lexus. This car is doing pretty good. The only really major things that are wrong with the car are the car still needs its TPMS sensors from when I installed the new wheels. I need to get that done at some point because the car has been screaming at me for what, 2 years now to put the sensors in, and I'll put them in sooner than later. I actually do intend to get that done. But the other big thing is I broke the vent when I installed the Apple CarPlay, which has been going phenomenal, by the way. I absolutely love the fact that this car has Apple CarPlay. So I need to get a new center console air vent system there because they broke even more than they were before. And I also need to do something about the peeling dash. The dash and the door cards are continuously getting worse every day. Around the areas that I peeled it are still doing fine, but places on like the top of the steering wheel here are getting particularly After I fixed those few things, honestly, the car is in really good condition overall. Mechanically, the car might need an alignment, but that's the only thing that I'm really noticing. It has new brakes, new axles, new hubs even. So, I mean, it's ready to go in that department. It has a water pump that was installed about a year ago, but I've been keeping up with the maintenance that I need to do with it, and it's been a really good car overall. I've rambled on enough about the Lexus. Let's talk about the Corvette. Why am I selling the Corvette and the Bronco? The Bronco, I waited so long for it to come, and now I'm actually getting rid of it. There's a little bit more of the story, like I was saying. We had a few problems with the electronics of the Bronco, and that's the most I'll say as of right now. Hopefully I'll have an update sooner than later on the situation that's going on with the car, or the truck I should say, and there's going to be a new development on it. I don't want to say anything because I don't know anything at this moment, but all I know is that it probably will be leaving the garage before long. Really liked keeping it around, and I wish I could have off-roaded it more, but that's the big thing, right? The Bronco's a $60,000 truck, and a lot of the trails out here are trails in the forest with trees, branches sticking out onto the trails, and unfortunately, well, those trails will scratch the side of your truck. The sand dunes would be fun to go take it out in, and like Baja driving, but there really isn't anything around here other than Michigan. I live in Wisconsin, and it's very, very awkward to get to Michigan. It's not something that I can do on a day trip, really. It's something that's either going to be an extremely long day trip or a multiple day thing, which I just don't have the time for. It'll make a little bit more sense when I make the next update video with it. But the Corvette, I thought I would drive it more, honestly. The Corvette has a dumb steering lock issue sometimes that it locks the steering column and I won't be able to drive it. So for that reason, I haven't driven it since I got that problem, which was actually the last time that I drove it. It's just a little bit annoying. So just trying to leave work, come to my car, plug the key in, get the warning light. Pull key, wait 10 seconds. My steering column won't unlock. I try starting this thing up. Steering column still locked, car's running. Officially, the Corvette has left me stranded for the first time. Let's go. That your steering column locks, but there is ways to solve that issue, so it's not like an end of the world thing. But that, me not driving it so much because of that, and just it's been miserable. It literally rained 30 minutes ago. I don't want to drive the car in rain. Not to like preserve it or whatever, but simply because of the fact, well, it's just not fun driving your nice car in bad weather. I like to enjoy the car in the nice weather, and that's when I take it out. I either have to buy some modules to make the security system stop bugging out, which isn't really a big deal. It's like a $50 module. But the other thing is, it's a 30,000 mile example, and for me, I really wish I could modify it, make it a little louder, and make it a little more rowdy. I would really enjoy the car more with a cam, a different shifter, and a different exhaust. But I just feel bad doing that to a nice example because a lot of Z06s have already been ruined. And there is a market out there for people who want. There's a bigger market, I think, for people who want stock Z06s. So why would I not just take advantage of the market, sell my car, and perhaps buy a different one? I like experiencing different platforms and owning different cars. Mustang, RX-7, Corvette, Miata. I like experiencing different cars, and I think that's the fun of it, especially when you don't really lose too much money owning a car for too long. I've had some fun with it. I've driven a little bit. I do intend to drive it a little bit more before I sell it. There's a couple of videos I want to make before I sell it. That's not me saying I don't like the car. That's just me saying I don't like the car, or the car isn't for me right now. In the future, I'd love to have another Corvette. And with that being said, that's all I have for the video. I definitely will miss the Corvette and the RX-7. I've had such a hard time selling it. Before the right price, I perhaps would do it just because, like we talked about before, I'd love to get a third generation car or a second generation RX-7, and also just opening the possibilities to other cars at this moment in time. Plus space would be a big one. If I sold 3 cars, I would have room for at least 2 or 1 really nice car. that I could actually build and work on instead of dividing my attention between a ton of them. That's all I got for the video. I know it's a little bit of a slow-paced one, a little bit of an update one. In the next videos, we will be working on some of the cars, giving you guys a little bit of thoughts, because I'm not quite done with the Corvette, even though it is going to be listed for sale soon. Check out another video if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one. Subscribe, leave a like.